Welcome in to this Wednesday morning edition. Blue Sky Live here with you today. Chase Parham and Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio for Neal over there. Getting started a little early, so appreciate everybody already in the stream. It'll be out in pod form. As always, we will discuss a little bit about not really the game because it was a blowout, but what last night did for the Rebels. They rout Memphis 10-0 in 7 innings last night at FedEx Park there in Memphis. They scored in the first 6 innings. Each of the first 6 innings, it was not much of a contest at all. Memphis had players out. They're not very good as it was, and it was a very methodical, workmanlike performance for the Rebels. They have Alcorn State today at 4 o'clock. I expect the back half of the bullpen to get a lot of work there in that. Cade Townsend is getting the start for Ole Miss. So that and more coming up today. A show brought to you every single day by Blue Sky locations throughout the state of Mississippi. Up and down I-55, North Mississippi. Got the epicenter down in Macomb as well. Lunch specials, Sweet Daddy's locations at most of the Blue Sky stops. With that, you get catering, you get those lunch specials, ribs, pulled pork, no matter what the group size is, side items, desserts, and plenty more. So head on in when you're coming to town this weekend for the Tennessee series. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for our friend Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you are looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. Right now, there's employee pricing throughout the month of April at Clark Ford. If you are looking for F-150, Expedition, Explorer, Ranger, a Focus, whatever the case may be, get it at employee pricing for the rest of the month of April. Again, 662-257-1900. Guest join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
Reading from the stream. Hello, everybody. Redbirds, yeah, still in Memphis for them. Let's see. That game though was played again on Memphis campus last night. They have not done the AutoZone thing since they had the fight about the tarp and the rainout a few years ago. Somehow David Kellum even got mixed up in that. But they have not played. Huh?
It's what I heard. I heard that one of that's played a big role in the reason that the games aren't played there anymore. I told somebody yesterday, I said, well, now, if you'd given me 1,000 guesses, I wouldn't have got there. I mean,
who was the guy that screwed it up? David Kellum, maybe the nicest human on earth. Yeah, that's what.
literally, maybe. I mean, if you were to say, hey, Neal, make a list of the nicest people on earth, nicest, most genuine people on earth. I mean, I might start with David Kellum, and so the fact that DK lost his temper and said something that pissed off the Redbirds and led to this situation, I did not have that on my bingo card. I would have lost. You could have said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you 7,000 guesses," and I would have. I don't think I ever would have even approached that one.
And Daniel's asking what's the story behind it, and I wish I remember the exact situation. Now, there's a couple parts to it. Memphis has been wanting to play back on campus anyway. They renovated their park. They were not really happy with doing the neutral site away thing every year, which I get, whatever. But if I'm Ole Miss, I don't go to their campus. I mean, I've said this, I would not play Memphis on Memphis's campus. I would either play at AutoZone. If I deemed AutoZone to be a draw for my fans, maybe it is, maybe it isn't now in 2025. But if it is, but I would be tempted to go to Birmingham and play UAB.
And is it on a yeah, I would too. Is it on a Tuesday night? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It used to be pretty cool. You'd go get some rendezvous, go over the game. It was fun. It was all right. Big alumni base.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But there was an argument about whether the game could be played. The tarp didn't go out when it was supposed to, or it was taken up. It was something to do with the tarp and the rain out. And Kellum tweeted a picture basically saying we could have played and we didn't because of the grounds crew. And that ruffled lots of feathers apparently there in the Bluff City.
I don't know the details. I just know that there was something about the tarp and something about it either said or tweeted. And Everybody got their feelings hurt.
Apparently, like fighting words in the press box. Yeah, that day. I was not there that game, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you've ever dealt with much minor league baseball. I have. Minor league baseball can be a really weird, almost cultish kind of thing.
Okay.
Those organizations are typically quite small. And when you work for a minor league team, you sort of are a jack of all trades. And when something goes wrong, it's kind of wrong for everybody. And that can lead to probably a lot of synergy inside an organization, but where they view everyone on the outside as the enemy. Because I can remember sometimes just like saying little smart ass things about the Bay Bears or whatever, and like the whole organization hated me for a couple of days. And it was, yeah, it's a thing. Definitely.
But it's a small staff, and they're going, God, we're trying. We get it. Okay. Like,
well, they do everything. Like, because a lot of times the grounds crew staff are the same people that do tickets and marketing, and they do everything. And they're there all the time. It's thankless. You know, I mean, lots of games and played in front of nobody. And yet you've got professional players, and the Redbirds are, you know, affiliated with the Cardinals. And so sometimes the people from St. Louis are there, and you're trying to make sure that you put on a great, you know, everything's perfect for them. And you've got, you know, there's a lot going on, and it's usually a pretty small staff, and they're overwhelmed, and they probably didn't put a hell of a lot of on the list of, hey, important dates for us with the Memphis Redbirds. The Ole Miss Memphis game here in March is probably not at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they probably weren't super locked in like they would have been for, hey, the Iowa Cubs or whatever's coming in, and the Cardinals GM's going to be in the building. There was some of that. And so, you know, tempers happen.
Hunter in the stream says it was a hole in the tarp, and the tarp didn't actually do anything. DK talked about it yesterday during pregame. And yes, Daniel, the SEC baseball tournament is all 16 teams. It is single elimination because they are not going to set a precedent of not making Hoover and not making the NCAA tournament. So,
and it's never meant less.
And it lets everybody get the hell out of there. That is what happened. So, yes.
It has never ever meant less than it will mean this year, and that will frustrate the ever living hell out of fans who will be like jacked up, understandably, for their team making a tournament run. But man, like, let's say standings sort of held, just project them from here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Texas, LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss, there would be no incentive, none to hang it.
Tuesday game, you already kind of weird on starting pitching. You found a way to 17-13, but whatever. And you go, hey, you bringing back Elliott on Tuesday? Hell no.
No.
Number one. And
he might not make the trip.
Yeah, Hunter, no spikes. Okay, leave them at home. No spikes.
Oh, literally, I've seen that happen where coaches are like, hey, make sure that,
because they don't want to risk it. Like, they don't want to get in their head about competing. So you go, don't bring cleats.
Yeah, don't bring cleats. Don't bring your glove. Leave it at the hotel. And then that way there's no chance that the game goes 13 innings and some competitive kid goes, hey, coach, just give me one inning. I got it.
Yeah.
And then the coach has got it, all his juices going, because by then the words have been exchanged and stuff's happened. And then you make a mistake.
Ole Miss 1952. Looking at Ole Miss prior to the baseball season, are you surprised at their success so far? Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I had them. I think I predicted 13-17 going into the year, and they're ahead of that. If you're asking what I'm surprised by, I did like the lineup. I thought they were going to be efficient 1 through 9. They are for the most part. The pitching's kind of what I thought, which was going to be the Achilles heel, in my opinion, going in. I just didn't know if they'd be able to overcome that to the point of winning 16, 17 games. I'm most surprised by their toughness, because you just don't ever know with a new team, with so many transfers, with culture and fit and continuity, and they've been a real tough group. So I think that will play out well for them as the year goes on. That's what that's kind of what I think so far. You know, you mentioned not risking it with pitching somebody you shouldn't if a game's close and those things. I thought that was the big key last night. And I'm not going to focus on the particulars. Again, Memphis is bad. Ole Miss scored 2 in the first, 2 in the third, 3 in the fifth, 1 in the second, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth. But what they were able to do to not have any doubt about that game yesterday, Gunnar Dennis was really good. He picks off a guy in the first inning, gets through the first 3 really clean. And then maybe critical's too strong, but a moment that I thought, if the week goes well, really mattered was in the 4th inning. Ole Miss at that point was up big. It was 6-0. But Memphis got the first 2 guys on, and there was no outs. And in your mind, you're going, okay, if they get a couple in here, it makes it a game, and then you're competitive, and you're going 9 innings, and it just kind of turns into a slog potentially at that point. And he strikes out 3 guys in a row. He gets out of the inning. Memphis doesn't score, and Ole Miss from there can really set the bullpen. They put it away with 3 in the 5th. They were up 9-0, and it was over. I wouldn't have even used Hudson Calhoun last night. They threw him for an inning. He didn't throw many pitches. He went through 16 pitches. He's fine for the weekend. But outside of that, they threw Patrick Galley. They threw Sam Takoyan. Really proud for him, by the way. Good kid that struggled, and he struck out the side in a 7th inning to end that game last night. But I thought that the ability to just get the lead and get out of there and not run the risk of a 6-5 game, and you go, well, let's just use Braden Jones 1 inning here. Let's get out of here. Let's end it. You get Spencer hot because of something, because Mike has done that, especially on Tuesdays sometimes. And I get they're not going to throw against Alcorn today, but either way, I thought starting a 5-game week without having to use any bullets other than maybe Calhoun for 1 inning was good for Ole Miss last night, because they would have spent an arm in the 8th of the ninth if they had to win that game. I just believe that. I've covered Mike enough to know that. So that was the big critical thing to take away. And then offensively, you had a good night. You take that into the weekend. You hope for the best. Ryan Moorman got back hot a little bit, 2 for 2. Reached base 3 times, couple of doubles, played a lot of guys. So, yeah, easy night, perfect night really for Ole Miss in a lot of ways there at that point. Luke points out Takoyan does have a K, 9 of 27 right now. He has all of his outs have been by strikeouts in 3 innings. The problem is that I think he has given up 5 hits and 5 walks in 2 of those innings. It's about command. The kid's got talent, but he just hadn't been able to kind of mentally put it together when the game gets here. So that was up. That was today. Yeah, Cade Townsend. I mean, speaking of no spikes days, Alcorn is really, really, really bad. So yeah, you got multiple guys that go, hey, on a Wednesday before Tennessee this weekend, you ain't throwing today. I don't care what's going on. So we'll see.
They're worse in baseball or basketball?
Are they really bad in basketball?
Was it Mississippi Valley that was so bad?
That was Valley that had the I saw they're looking for an AD right now.
That's a plum gig.
Valley. Yeah, let's see. Alcorn in baseball is 4-23, 2-13 in the SWAC. They do have 2 wins over Alabama A&M. Is it Alabama A&M that beat Missouri, or was that Alabama State? I think that was Alabama A&M. So they won a series against the team that beat Missouri 10-0.
We can do more Missouri bashing if you like.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I think it's safe. Listen, I think 0-30 is on the table for Missouri. Like it's a legitimate number.
Does Sankey call them and go, "Hey guys, try a little. Just try a little"?
I don't know that in today's era of complete uncertainty.
Okay.
I don't know that you can call a school and go, "Hey, you guys should really try a little in something that your fans don't care about."
Mm-hmm. Jackson State beat Alcorn 11-1, 19-6, and 13-3.
I mean, baseball's bigger than it's been in a long time, but I don't know that it's so. I don't know that it's big enough that you could treat it like men's basketball, for example, where you'd have to call someone and go, "Hey, you're going to simply have to try." I mean, it's becoming an issue. Like if you have Missouri on your schedule and someone else doesn't, that's a 3-game swing.
Their RPI is 145.
Mizzou's.
Yeah.
Which is bad, but it's not so colossally bad that everybody beats them. I mean,
Yeah,
the good
you can't
teams
lose a series to them.
No. I mean, no one's even lost a game to them. I told you I'd not really watched much all year, and I was in Milwaukee, and I was waiting for the Ole Miss Iowa State game to start, and Mizzou took like a 5-1 lead or a 6-1 lead. I don't remember the exact number. Please don't hold me to it. Against Ole Miss, and I was like, big deal. You could just tell by watching on a computer screen that Ole Miss is not losing to that. They'll come back. It'll be a big number, but whatever.
And they did.
And they did. And like there literally it was like 14-5 or 6 or 7. I don't know. It was something like that. And you're like, yeah, I'm not.
They're pitching. Whoa, boy.
Yeah. So I mean, Arkansas had 20 offensive innings last week, and they scored 51 runs.
Okay.
In the cold. And one of those games was apparently played in like a steady rain. And they still scored 51 runs? Come on.
We're in April. We're in April, so RPI does start to really count here, especially in the SEC where it's hard to fall off because everybody's good. This is much like the basketball conversation. It's not basketball, but it ain't very far off. So your RPI ranks in the SEC right now for baseball. Arkansas is number 1, Texas number 3, LSU number 6, Tennessee number 7, Georgia number 4, Ole Miss number 8, Alabama number 9, Vanderbilt number 5, Auburn number 12, Oklahoma number 20, Kentucky 40, State 47, A&M 58, Carolina 39, that's an interesting number, Florida 32, another interesting number, and Missouri 145. So everybody's in the top 58 outside of Missouri, and 14 of the 16 are in the top 47. I mean, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are in the top 12.
That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in how many of the teams that are going to end up with top 15, 16 RPIs get host sites. Are they willing to admit that, okay, this is what happened in basketball has happened in baseball completely, and it is what it is, and we're going to give it to who earned it? Or are they going to do that baseball thing about we must grow the game?
Grind asking how much the baseball roster costs if you want to be top 16. It's not as set as the other sports where you have to have this number. You really have to use it more efficiently and effectively so the number can change. But you're behind the 8 ball if you're not in the high 1s to mid 2s.
Yeah, I was going to say $2.5 million. Yeah, it's pretty much the baseline.
So something like that.
Those teams at the top of the SEC right now are pushing 4 or more. And you get into the strategy of that. If you're not going to win in football and you know it, spending it a little, throwing a little extra spice on the other sports, if those sports matter to your fan base, I don't think it's a terrible strategy, personally.
I apologize to Missouri, by the way. It was Alabama State that beat you, not Alabama A&M. So it was not the team that Alcorn beat in a weekend series.
I'm glad we're able to get that settled because that was going to be a thing that was going to hang over us today.
We talk a lot about, and you're mentioning it with football or basketball or whatever it is. Yes, baseball made a profit last year, by the way. Daniel asking. Media narratives, fan narratives, whatever. I was looking this up this morning because somebody said it on a podcast I was listening to. And I couldn't have told you this. Do you know who finished last and next to last in rushing last year in the SEC?
Football?
Yeah.
Last and next to last. I don't.
That is correct. 15th in the SEC in rushing last year were the Georgia Bulldogs. 16th in the SEC in rushing last year were the LSU Tigers.
Oh, wow.
Dead last.
Yeah, LSU did struggle to run the ball.
Yeah, 116.4 yards a game. I was listening to Moscona this morning, and he was talking about he was actually on with. I've never thought to do this. I guess we do podcasts, and we just step away. He was on with McElroy and Kublik, and he just held the phone up on his show where his people could hear the questions and answers, and made that part of his podcast this morning.
Oh, smart.
Never thought to do that before, but they were discussing their offensive line because they lost damn near everybody and everybody who's been, continuous. They had so much continuity on that line. That is a tremendous question mark for LSU going into next season, and probably one of the good ways why if Ole Miss wants to catching them early might not be the worst thing in the world. Everybody got their own problems. Like, I'm not saying they're the only one, but that is a hell of a change there with that. So
there's a thread on our message board, and I just answered it, and I could almost feel myself pouring the cold water on the argument. But it was about, hey, what does Ole Miss need to do out of the portal, in the spring portal? And my answer was, I don't know. How do you know? How do you possibly know? The coaches aren't saying. The stuff that media sees is inconsequential. I have no idea who's out there. And then to you, that's the point. And then Ole Miss won't play Ole Miss in the fall. They'll play 12 other teams, including 8 teams in the SEC. And I couldn't really begin to tell you. I mean, you can tell you things about teams, but you and I were in pre-show, we're talking about Kentucky, for example, because Ole Miss plays Kentucky in week 2, I think.
That's correct.
Up there. Look, Kentucky was bad last year. If you made me bet, I would bet they'll be bad again this year. But if someone came down, the football gods came down and said, no, they fixed some things. They got these 10 people out of the portal. They've all kind of clicked, and they've filled holes, and they're going to be better than they were. I'd go, okay. I mean, I don't have any way to – there's no way to know. And so these – I think it's one of the real risks of the media offseason that we're so used to, where we do media hot takes and we establish narratives on things that now we know nothing about. Because you don't even see spring games anymore. Not that they ever meant anything, but you don't even see those. Practices are basically closed. There's lots of moving parts, much more turnover than ever before. And it's really kind of impossible to, with exceptions, it's really kind of possible to have firm opinions. Like I told you, if the football gods dropped in here today and said, hey, man, Ole Miss is really good next year. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, but I'm not blown away. And conversely, if they came in and said, man, this is going to be a really mediocre team, I'd go, huh, I'm not surprised. They lost a lot. Putting in a whole lot of new pieces. You're hoping it clicks. You're hoping it works. Mm-hmm. It might not. And so I go to a practice like yesterday. I was out there for 30 minutes. I need to remember to load the offense, and I've did some offensive line stuff, defensive line stuff. I forgot to load it yesterday. We had some stuff happening. A lot of phone calls. But I don't have any way to compare, like looking at Ole Miss's defensive line, right? I can't compare it to Kentucky's. I don't see it. It's impossible.
No, there's no way. That's an interesting stat, Spot. They're talking in the stream about last year's Ole Miss team, and there's two ways to look at it. One, I think Lane's going to have a program where they're competitive every year, and you're not as beholden on one year, which was my problem, your problem with the Last Dance narrative and all that, because you want to be a program that simply does it again the next year, no matter how you finish the year prior, and not make it about one season ever. That's the worst thing you can do, especially for fan morale. You need to move on to the next year and have an ability. And the non-con made this stat what it is because Ole Miss just trounced those 4 crap teams. But history is just over time going to be really unkind to Ole Miss missing the playoff next year. Again, does it matter? I don't know. It's up to you. Not really. But as they point out, Ole Miss led the league in offense scoring and defense scoring last season. That's very difficult to do in this league.
No, I think it's more than fair. Like, the question's going to come up at media days and such when I do interviews and things. You're going to do interviews and things. People are going to talk to us. I think it's more than fair to at least entertain the narrative that Ole Miss underachieved.
Well, they did underachieve. There's no doubt
I mean,
about that.
I think that's more than fair. You know, if you played that season out 100 times, how many times would Ole Miss go 9-3 or worse? And I think it's a small number.
Yeah.
You know, they should have won more than they did.
I think there's a world where they go 12-0 more times than they go 9-3.
I would agree with that. I mean, when you see how they beat Arkansas. I mean, they beat Arkansas in a way that most teams didn't beat Arkansas that way. But the one I was thinking of was Georgia at home, which was the next week. Those couple of games was what that team probably should have been.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't. And that team wasn't fully formed, I don't think, when they played Kentucky. Then they go to South Carolina and win. They go to LSU and they had a really bad quarter and a half. You know, there's a lot there. So, but like moving forward, I don't know what to expect from Ole Miss, and I'm kind of prepared to say that all summer when people are, what do you give me a prediction? I don't really have one yet. I couldn't do that right now. Like seriously, if we were to do the exercise where you do win, loss, toss today, how many times would you go, I don't know?
I know.
Like LSU,
you don't know the players.
Yeah, I mean LSU's going to put an
or theirs.
Yeah, LSU's going to put an offensive line out there. I don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be Will Campbell.
No.
You know, I mean, they are going to have an experienced quarterback. They have some weapons at receiver. They've got some, you know, high-level defensive players, but I don't know what all that looks like for them. And there were times last year that LSU did not look good.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of, I mean, that's going to be almost a summer problem, a little bit of trying to figure out how to do some of those preseason stuff. Because, I mean, we have to do it. It's what everybody wants to hear, and we'll do it, and we'll figure it out. But it's not the easiest thing.
I just think you do it honestly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like that thing that I've always said is that you should never be afraid to say, I don't know. And I think there's going to be a lot of I don't knows. And I think if you preface it with I don't know and then say, but I kind of think, that's different.
Little portal news. Pop Isaacs, the Creighton guard, headed to Houston. Time will tell whether that was a mistake or not for Ole Miss. They could have definitely wrapped him up. He took his first visit to the Rebels right after the transfer portal window opened. He had those 2 hip procedures that we've talked about a good bit here on the podcast and the website. His price tag around 7 figures, just shy from what I've heard from people who would know. And Ole Miss had questions about the hip. If he goes to Houston and averages 18 points a game and stays healthy a whole year, that was a mistake on the Rebels' part. If he gets hurt at any point or doesn't pan out, then Ole Miss did the right thing. There's no way to answer that right now. But he is off the board as Ole Miss continues to try to put its group together here out of the transfer portal. Currently just Corey Chest from LSU on the list, and then obviously Malik Dia and Klafke returning from last year's team. So that's your news. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's Houston nor Ole Miss can know the answer to that investment or lack of investment right now and whether it is the right decision. What you have to realize is where a team stands dictates their ability to take a chance. Ole Miss can't take chances because they have no one. If you had a ton of multi-year guys and you were only trying to replace 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6, then you're more likely to go, okay, pay him the $800,000-900,000 and let's move on and hope he's a bucket. But where your roster sits dictates your ability to do that. This is not apples to apples all the way around.
No, and let's be clear, Pop Isaac's asking price was around $1 million.
Yes.
I'm not sure it was quite $1 million. Some people think it was a little more than $1 million. I think it was probably a little less than $1 million, but it was still around.
Either way, a lot of money.
And so if you're Ole Miss and you have so much uncertainty on your roster moving forward, that is one hell of a gamble. You roll that dice and he can't play. Well, now you've got 16 to 20% of your budget sitting on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That might be more than you can overcome in a league full of good programs, as we just saw.
And he's had two straight years impacted by that hip.
Yeah.
Could be completely fine. He might be an All-American next year. I don't know. But
yeah, there's a world where he's cutting down nets in Indianapolis next year for Houston. And you go, well, should have paid him.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Ain't no doubt. I mean, that's on the menu. But let me tell you what's also on the menu. Here's what's also on the menu, and this is to your point, Chase. What's also on the menu is, no, he's not the same player. He can't get on the court. Can't play. So he's sitting over there on the bench in street clothes going, defense. That got to help you. And so that's on the menu too. And both of those menu items cost about $1 million. And so you're going to look at that and go, I don't know that I really want to. I don't know that I want to dine here.
And you know, in this world, sometimes because you're making all that money, you end up playing minutes you probably might not even should be playing because you're just trying to justify investment in some way. Like there's probably a world, and I get he was trying to win and like this whole whatever, but there's a world in a little different situation where Matt Morrell would have just taken a medical.
Sure.
Dude had no ups.
100%.
And instead, hey, making some money. I'm going to try to do what I can do for you. I'm going to help the team. I want to win. We make a decision that maybe isn't in the best long-term decision-making situation.
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things Chris said after the Michigan State game was he was looking forward to Matt being able to get healthy, getting done what he needed to get done to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. You know. You can be pretty slow and go, so he needs surgery. You know, I get it. I won't be one of the people that if Pop Isaacs gets 22.3 next year for Houston, I won't be, I should have. No, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And look, here's the other thing you don't know. You don't know whether he was pretty interested in Ole Miss, and maybe Houston put out a pretty maybe Houston sent a pretty lurid text or something, you know, got his attention and got him thinking. I don't know. I mean, everybody else tries too. I mean, I promise you, Kelvin Sampson's trying to win again.
Yeah.
Bet on it. And you play in the, but you go back to the risk thing. You know the league you're in. Look how hard it was. I mean, there were good teams in the SEC last year that went 7-11.
Well, I was talking to somebody associated with college basketball. We were talking about Isaacs and somebody else, and the comment that resonated, it's across the league, is, hey, it's not hard to win 4 games in this league. You make a couple mistakes, and suddenly you're just getting your ass kicked every night. Like, It's not hard at all to go 4-14.
No. I mean, Oklahoma was a pretty good team last year. They went 6-12.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma was not a bad team.
Trey Johnson's a pretty good player for Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
I saw he declared not going to come back and play for Sean Wright and the Longhorns next year.
He's not? Shocker.
Apparently
no, he's a lottery pick. No, I mean, it's Adu Thero, by the way, going to the NBA.
Okay.
You're still,
go ahead.
If you have a chance to be a first-round pick, you got to go.
$21.1 million for Florida's win over Houston from a ratings or a viewer standpoint, peaked at 21.1, 18.1 on average. Most watched title game since Virginia Texas Tech drew 19-6 in 2019. That was the first year that they started doing out of home metrics. So really you can't compare to anything prior to that because of the way the Nielsen ratings work. And then it's way up. It's up 22% from Connecticut and Purdue last year. And even that was up from a record low title game audience of 14.7 the year before, which was UConn San Diego State. The tournament overall, huge number. I mean, the tournament overall, when you do every game on average, 10.2 million viewers. Wow. Just such a big number for that many games. Up 3% from the year before, tournament wide. So
that's crazy.
Number.
I mean, I've said this on as many outlets and mediums as I can. I was wrong. Just dead wrong. Underestimated the power of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just did.
An interesting number on the women's side. They get 8.6 for the women's hoops national title game. First off, stop playing the damn thing in the afternoon. Like, in all seriousness, move the game tonight. It's ridiculous. Two, while it's obviously not Caitlin Clark, Iowa numbers, and those are nowhere near going to be reached, they are way ahead of where they were 2, 3, 4 years ago in non-Clark games. So I think if you're into that kind of thing, you see that as a huge positive at that 8.6 when you're trying to compare to anything that isn't the shooting star that's Caitlin Clark. So probably good numbers there. They're probably happy about that overall when looking at the stats. UConn's also the one ratings monster in the country. They draw more than anyone else. Eyeballs.
Well, to your point on Sunday afternoon, I literally forgot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You had a blowout and it's on Sunday afternoon. Just play it at night.
Yeah, play it on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Play it as the palate, they getting ready for Monday. Just play it at night. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yeah.
People will watch. Yeah, I mean, Paige Beckers helps. I mean, we'll see what happens next year in a game that doesn't include, and I don't know what Juju Watkins' recovery is going to be like. So you might be playing most of the season without her at SC. That freshman is really good at UConn. We don't know her yet, but she's really good. Both her names start with an S, but it's slipping. Somebody help me. I don't know. And Neil doesn't know. I can see by his face. So
no clue.
Sarah Strong or Storm or something like that. Somebody help. Somebody has it. Let's see. I had something real quick. Let me find it. Where is this at? Oh, we got a little news about our Jaden Rashada, our boy Jaden Rashada. Did you see this yesterday?
Western Kentucky.
Oh, is that true?
I think.
Oh, I was in his court case. I didn't know where he was at now.
No,
he's at Georgia still, isn't he? Oh, he's former Georgia. Yeah, okay. You're right. Never mind.
He took a visit to Western Kentucky fairly recently, I think.
All right, I don't know. So I'll just read here.
Hey,
you can stop me. Yeah.
48 hours in Bowling Green. You might not ever leave.
Bowling Green's got a nice little town square area, in all seriousness.
Yeah. I know. I like Bowling Green.
They have a couple good restaurants. They do. There's stuff I really like in Bowling Green. Not bad.
I like Bowling Green. I was being honest. Good basketball environment.
I think that's an underrated college town.
Same.
I'm good with it. You got Louisville fairly close. You got Nashville fairly close.
An hour. You can be in Nashville in 1 hour.
You're in a good little middle ground there.
Not far from
Louisville's
Cincinnati.
an hour and a half? I mean, yeah.
Oh, this is not a bad place at all. I was serious.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, let's see. U.S. District Court Judge Casey Rogers has ruled that the majority of former Georgia football student athlete, because let's get that in, that he is a football student athlete, Jaden Rashada's lawsuit against Florida head coach Billy Napier, former Florida director of NIL and player engagement Marcus Castro Walker, and prominent UF booster Hugh Hathcock can move to discovery, noting that Rashada's tortious interference claims were dismissed. However, his fraudulent misrepresentation and inducement, conspiracy to commit fraud, and negligent misrepresentation claims can move forward. From Rogers' ruling, Hathcock allegedly boasted to Castro Walker within earshot of Rashada and family that he would deliver whatever NIL compensation package was needed to secure Rashada's commitment to UF. And while Hathcock and Castro Walker were in the thick of the initial negotiations with his agents, Hathcock allegedly said that he just listened to whatever Napier and Castro Walker told him to do. Napier's putative actions in concert with the surrounding circumstances alleged in the complaint, at the very least, created a plausible appearance that Castro Walker and Hathcock were acting as Rashada's apparent agents during his recruitment to UF. So, okay. Discovery is fascinating. I mean, let's get to discovering. I don't know.
Look, I can't comment on what happened. I don't know. But I can reflect back on those times and say he wasn't making those numbers up. Someone told him those numbers and made him believe that because he went to a school that there's a reason he went there.
Yes. I mean, we were around all that going on.
Boy, isn't that a funny time? That's when you think back to how much things have changed since that spring football. What year was that? That was 21?
It was 21.
He had taken a visit to Arkansas, and I had a source there that told me that Arkansas basically met with him, heard his number, and went, can't do this. And he was coming to Ole Miss, and I wrote a column that basically was like the biggest story on campus this weekend has nothing to do with the actual game, but everything to do with his visit.
Yes. Because Lane was, in my opinion, recruiting him to be able to get him out of the portal later.
I think so. I think that was true because they
knew the initial number was too high.
Yeah, and you were hearing these numbers and you were like, those numbers are absurd. And then the number that he ultimately reportedly got from Florida was even bigger than the absurd numbers that you heard. And it was the first sign that you're like, whoa, this thing's taking off in a way that I don't think most people can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always go back to the first time that we did a show with Chance Campbell, and I remember telling him, I have no idea like what to offer you. No clue. I don't know what anything resembling market value is. And he was like, I don't either. And now that number wouldn't even get him on the phone.
Oh, God.
I mean, think about that.
It wouldn't be worth their time in any way.
Chance played in 2022 or 2021? Do you remember what year he played at all?
21, right?
Is it 21?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe so. That number wouldn't even get you in the conversation. I'm not sure the number that Peyton Chatney got in 2022 would even start a conversation today. That's how far it's gone. I don't. It's crazy. So I don't. But I don't know how contractually, legally, all that will play out. But I do believe that Jaden Rashada and his people believed that the numbers that they thought they were getting, they were actually getting.
There's no doubt about that. I see a couple different. I was laughing because somebody in the stream said Montana Grill and Bowling Green is elite. Actually, that was one of the places that I stayed for a night when I was gone a couple weeks ago. The guy bragged at the hotel when I went in to check in. I don't think I told you this. He bragged that Bowling Green, and I don't know how this is a brag because downtown they've got a couple pretty nice restaurants that I do like.
Okay.
Bowling Green has the second most restaurants per capita in the United States. Every chain known to man, over and over and over and over again. Second most per capita in the country, behind San Francisco.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's
very proud of that fact.
And that would be my observation of Bowling Green. I mean, that you're getting a lot of people that are going through on 40.
Of chains everywhere. Every restaurant known to God is in Bowling Green.
And look, if you're driving through a town, let's be clear. Not everybody wants to do hey, let's figure out where the locals go here.
No.
And you have to drive 2 miles off the interstate. A lot of times it's, what chain can we depend on? I just need a B+ here.
Where's the Chili's? Where's the Cracker Barrel? Okay, Cool.
I know what I get there. We can get in, we can get out, get back on the road. Little Johnny's going to settle down. We got 6 more hours to drive. Yeah. I get it. Place like that, chains would do well.
We have 3 Cracker Barrels in like 45 minutes from us.
I said 40. I meant 65. Isn't that what?
It's
65 that goes through there? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. I didn't know we had a Cracker Barrel in New Albany until like a month ago. I didn't realize we had 3 Cracker Barrels in like 45 minutes from us. Did you?
No, I did not. I'm not a Cracker Barrel person.
I know. I'm not really either, but you are even worse than I am.
No, not my jam at all.
It's consistent.
Bad over it. Sure.
Well, it's cheap. How is it overrated? It's like $8 for an unlimited.
Does nothing for me. Does nothing. Just doesn't even register on the.
You're just bad at the peg game, and you're upset about it. That's what it is. You're can't.
I am bad at the peg game.
What did Lane say yesterday?
Not much. They scrimmaged on Friday instead of Saturday because of weather. It was good to kind of throw them a curveball, see how they responded. I asked about the court case. He acknowledged it was a good question, but that he wasn't going to give away his strategy. I followed up with, is that frustrating to kind of not know whether – I said there's a world where your strategy's wrong because you're operating in the dark. And he acknowledged that. Said it is what it is, that you talk to a lot of people and, different people have different strategies and the rules could change, and essentially acknowledged that, yeah, there's a world where we're wrong. Then he got another question about who all you talk to for that. And he was like, you don't really talk to anybody. You basically talk to your people and strategize. And he got a question about defensive backs. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's spring and we don't see anything. And I think all parties involved wish they weren't there. And that leads to a little uninspired, give and take. I think Lane would like to talk more about, I think the narrative inside his brain is he would have loved to have really dove into an answer on my question, but he knew that giving away strategy is probably not brilliant right now because the portal's about to open back up and do this all over again. And nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Claudia Wilkin. It's wild that a 75-year-old retiring judge in California has the level of control, at least for the moment, over collegiate athletics that she does.
It's true, though.
Who's more powerful today, Greg Sankey or Claudia Wilkin? Claudia Wilkin.
By time and ruling.
Yeah. So there's a world where she puts out a ruling that, hey, this settlement's in place and it's legally binding until someone challenges it legally. And then I guess you have to find a judge who puts what's the word I'm looking for? An injunction, a restraining order, injunction that goes, nope, it's not effective right now. I don't know.
No, Luke, I did not read the article about Liam Dole potentially being 1-1 because nobody else wows. Wow. I mean, throws hard, strikes a lot of people out, but that does not look 1-1 at all. He also gets hit really hard at times. Adam Schefter yesterday reporting Jackson Dart visited with the Cleveland Browns, will next fly to Las Vegas to visit the Raiders. He also spent, quote, considerable time with the Giants, Saints, and Rams. ESPN this morning mocking Jackson Dart to the Cleveland Browns with the 33rd overall pick.
I don't think he lasts that long.
I don't either.
That's what she said. Sorry. I think it's more likely that he becomes a team goes, we have to have a quarterback. I like him. Let's trade up and get him. Than him falling to 33.
Current quarterback room for the Browns includes Deshaun Watson, who tore his Achilles again in January, Kenny Pickett, and they had reported interest in adding Kirk Cousins earlier this offseason. I don't want to. I don't want Jackson to go to Cleveland.
Yeah,
because I hope Jackson does really well, and I just have a hard time going. Yeah, let me go turn Cleveland on to watch this Sunday.
Yeah, I don't wish Cleveland upon him.
I want him to go to LA. I follow the Rams anyway. Like Stafford, McVay's good for him. I want him to go 26 for the Rams.
I still think he goes before that. That's my.
You've got him 9 to the Saints or 21 to the Steelers,
or somewhere where somebody trades up for him. Where's Vegas?
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, some team is going to go. Look, it's a quarterback league. Some team is going to, if a team's in love with him, they'll figure it out. Some team's going to go, hey, Pittsburgh's going to take him at 21. We've got to move up and get him.
Raiders are at 6.
Yeah, he won't go 6 to the Raiders. That feels high.
And then Raiders again at 37.
I'm sure the Raiders fantasize about a world where he falls to 37.
But that feels very unlikely.
It feels very unlikely.
Just the quarterback situation is weird.
But I mean, there
are no guarantees here.
No, and if you need proof it's a quarterback league, the fact that people are talking about Cam Ward going 1 tells you it's a quarterback league. And you have to take who you think is the best quarterback in that particular class because you have to have a quarterback. And you attach your franchise to somebody and hope and pray.
I don't want anybody sick. I'm not even making a joke here. I just see on ESPN.com on the front page this morning that Freeze with his prostate cancer is waiting until potentially January for surgery. They're trying some other treatments first. So that because of the cancer being low aggressive, deciding to wait until January and let doctors re-examine the situation instead of having surgery. Said that he's only 55 and doesn't feel like it's time to rush into surgery. So just a little update there, because I had not heard a thing since he was initially diagnosed, whenever that was, last month or 2 months ago. So yes, that's on ESPN.com.
But someone mentions Jamarcus Russell in the thread, and he's one of the best examples. He goes 1-1 because of his immense physical talent, and he's not who the head coach at the time wanted to draft. He was forced to play him. It was a disaster. And, there's an alternate universe where they take, who was it, Calvin Johnson?
Is that who it was?
I think.
Okay.
You take you take a wide receiver there. You have a veteran quarterback, and that coach, who's now coaching college ball at a school nearby, is still in the NFL. There's a world where that's a completely different outcome. It is a quarterback league. If you have a bust at quarterback, your ceiling is really low as a team. If you hit the bonanza at quarterback, all of a sudden you don't have to be perfect everywhere else.
No, you're good. Grind, get you in a second with your super chat. I saw Dan Bugler's big athletic, I think they call it the Beast, the huge giraffe thing comes out today. He was asked what his weirdest fact he found while doing the book, and he said before he was a top 75 prospect as a wide receiver, Ole Miss's Trey Harris was a high school quarterback and talented basketball player. He was giving up football to focus on the hard court, but one of his wide receivers talked him into returning to the football team, and that was Malik Neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Grind, thanks for super chat. It would be your SEC preseason first, second, third team QBs. Nuss, Sellers, and Lagway would be his. You still have Arch and Nico.
I'm a little
I
sour on Nico right now. I didn't see kind of what I thought I'd see last year. I'm pretty high on Arch just
think
because
I'm
I know
Nuss, Arch, and Lagway.
not Sellers.
I just got a weird thing. I don't know. Not saying he's bad. Just
No,
I don't
yeah, he's just
I don't know that I think Carolina's about to go 9-3.
they're one of my wild card teams. Like, I don't know enough about them, but I know they do have some really top level talent. He's been there for a while. I do think he's a culture guy, and I think their culture's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know where. I mean, I think South Carolina and Florida are wild cards, frankly.
Yeah, Florida for sure is a wild card. I mean, Florida at one point last year wasn't very good, and by the end of the season they were pretty good. And Lagway's got a really good arm. Can do a lot of things. I mean, they love him. But I don't really know like what else is around him at all. Most of the Florida media is just complete homers. So everything's awesome all the time until it's not. And like I really like Nussmeier and know NFL people who really like Nussmeier, but I do wonder like if you can't protect him and you can't take some load off of him by running the football, what happens?
And he doesn't run. He's kind of a statue. I mean, he had like fewer than 15 rushing attempts last year.
And so when I say this about Arch, it's really based more on just what NFL people say.
Mm-hmm.
NFL people love him.
So you're considering him number one?
Well, and he's going to have a great supporting cast around him because Texas has recruited really, really well, and they've done well in the portal. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a world where I'd go with Arch number one. But I mean, I don't know what I'm basing that on other than just what NFL people say. NFL people love him. They don't discard. They view the Manning part of it as this is a guy you can count on. The pedigree has been strong. I mean, in fairness, Peyton and Eli both had pretty good NFL careers, if we're just being honest.
They panned out.
Panned out pretty good. And they like everything about his makeup and his physical stature and all of that. Might be the route I'd go.
ESPN also this morning has a list of most polarizing players as far as reputations and draft stock for this draft. Shedeur Sanders mentioned, Mikael Williams at Georgia mentioned, Will Campbell, the offensive lineman at OSU, mentioned. I think he's pretty sad, but whatever. Jalen Milroe mentioned because he was invited to the draft, but first round for Milroe. Oh boy. Shamar Stewart at A&M has kind of fallen and risen depending on who you want to talk to. And then Walter Nolen on the list. You and I discussed this yesterday a little bit on the podcast. I'll read it. It says Nolen, big-time talent whose pro day performance was incredible per multiple scouts. Highest ceiling in the entire draft. A veteran NFL defensive coach said, not as big as Jalen Carter, but some of the same traits. Added an NFC executive, impressive traits. We were fine with his interviews. Multiple scouts have maturity concerns. However, there are several NFL scouting reports that reflect Nolen's history of walking off the practice field mid-session due to frustration. Opinions of his team interviews are varied, but one NFL personnel executive said he came across as someone who wants to improve and shed bad habits. He's searching for solutions, the exec said. He's young. He turned 21 in October. Going to a veteran-laden locker room could help. Quote, your hands will be full and you need a real plan for him. And I have a hard time thinking he falls out of the top 20.
I think I agree. I still kind of think Cincinnati's going to go there at what 17. I mean, I get it, right? I mean, look, it's people got frustrated with me last year because I had an NFL scout observing his body language on the field, I think, at the Kentucky game last year. And
he had those practice issues here too. Now, was he a much better player, the teammate than A&M? Yes, he had improved.
And by the end of the season, he had really progressed.
Yes.
The Kentucky game was in September. And if you're honest about it, and I know, fandom is what it is, but if you're honest about it, he was mad in that game. And he was away from his teammates. He wasn't with the defensive huddle. Now, he came out and played his ass off. But there were some things where people were looking at it going, boy, you just can't have this in an NFL locker room. It's the kind of thing that becomes a problem, becomes a distraction. And NFL teams despise distraction.
Yeah.
And so, he had some rough patches at A&M. He did. He had rough patches at A&M. So I'm sure some of the people that coached him at A&M, when the NFL people have talked to them, and they have, I'm sure they've said he was a problem. He was a mess. I don't think that happened at Ole Miss. I think he was really good at Ole Miss. Now, at Ole Miss, he was in a room. Think about it. And so this is an NFL team has to think about these things. At Ole Miss, he was in a room with Jared Ivey, who's a phenomenal human being. J.J. Pegues, same.
Yep.
Princely Amanmielen, very smart. A lot of young guys that understood, hey, our time's coming. This is our learning year. Let's absorb. So they weren't bitching and screaming about playing time. They were just there. It was kind of a perfect setting. So for him, if you're an NFL team, you've got to say, is he coming into a room with high character guys, or is he coming into a room with some high maintenance guys?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the answer is we've got a bunch of high maintenance guys, it might not be a fit. And if the answer is no, this is one of our stronger rooms in our building, we've got some guys who could really take him under their wing, then look, I don't think there's any questioning his physical talent. And I never had anything other than a great interaction with Walter. I mean, that wasn't Greg Hardy.
No.
Where, I mean, you knew with Greg, man, your hands are full.
You just never knew what you were getting one day to the next. ESPN has Cade Klubnik, the number one quarterback in the country, going into next season.
At Clemson?
Uh-huh. They have Drew Aller, number 2. Drew Aller did not complete a pass to a wide receiver in their bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
What are we doing?
That's not fair to Drew Aller. See, now you're creating a narrative when he's not as good as that. Oh, he underachieved. No, you overranked.
They have Arch 12th, 13th, 12th.
Again, I mean, I just all I can tell you
one
is what
spot
NFL
ahead of Luke Altmaier.
They have Luke. Oh, among quarterbacks.
Yeah, 13. Kevin Jennings 11, DJ Lagway 10, Haynes King 9.
Who the hell is Kevin Jennings?
The SMU quarterback.
Oh.
Nico 8, Carson Beck 7, Sam Levitt, Arizona State 6, Lenora Sellers 5, John, I haven't even announced the Oklahoma kid's name, Mateer. Okay, 4, Nussmeier 3, Aller 2, Klubnik 1.
Who wrote this?
Let's see. Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.
I mean, Adam's been covering basketball for the last 2 months. I mean, I don't blame. That's unfair of ESPN. Hey, rank a bunch of quarterbacks while you're covering the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Darian Mensah 15, Sawyer Robertson 14.
Where is Sawyer Robertson now? I mean, help me.
He is at he's at Baylor University.
Where was he before?
Mississippi State.
That's right.
There you go.
They got him ranked right after Arch. Stop. So stupid.
I'll take Simmons over Sawyer Robertson today. I'm good.
Where's Austin?
He's not on the list.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, run those guys down real. You got to go. Run down the top 10, and I'll tell you who I would take. Whether I would take Austin in front of that guy.
Top 15, Darian Mensah, Duke.
Yes.
Sawyer Robertson, Baylor.
Yes.
Luke Altmaier, Illinois.
Yeah, and I love Luke. Great
Yeah,
kid.
I love Luke, but Austin has a higher upside.
Phenomenal year, yeah.
Arch Manning, Texas.
No, I'd rather have Arch.
Kevin Jennings, SMU.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know who he was. Sure.
Okay. DJ Lagway, Florida.
Probably rather have Lagway just because he's proven.
Yeah, he's had a year. Haynes King.
Ooh.
There's a lot of Haynes a lot.
Yeah, I like dude. I for 1 year I might rather have Haynes.
Okay. Yeah, give me a career, I'll take Austin, but 1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
Nico.
I'd rather have Simmons.
I just don't think the upside on Nico is crazy. Carson Beck, Miami.
I'd rather have Simmons.
Sam Levitt, Arizona State.
Got judgment issues with Carson Beck, man. Not worth getting into right now, but I got judgment issues. And I'm sure there's more to it. And Carson would tell you, hey, I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and I'm sure he was. But still, Sam Levitt, I'd rather have Austin.
Lenoris Sellers.
I'd rather have Sellers. He's proven. Dynamic
John Mateer.
I think I'd rather have Mateer.
He was at Washington State, 3,200 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks, 65% completion percentage. Also ran for 826 and 15.
Oklahoma's on my list of teams that I think are wild cards.
Yeah. Nussmeier, Aller, Klubnik.
I'd rather have Nuss. He's proven. I don't like Drew Aller. The Klubnik thing, I don't get it. Whatever. Sure.
Yes.
He seems like a nice kid.
Oh, yeah, Haynes is definitely still in school. You ought to see some of these other people. Haynes hadn't been in school anywhere near as long as some of these cats.
Oh, yeah.
Just stay in school.
Some of these guys are getting their AARP cards.
Mm-hmm. So,
I like Haynes King. Haynes is good. I mean, Haynes.
No, I'm good with Haynes.
He damn near lined up with Georgia Tech and beat Georgia last year.
No, I'm all good with Haynes.
He's a legit player.
Ole Miss Alcorn, 4 o'clock today. Ole Miss Tennessee, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. MPW Digital. More shows coming. And then we'll be back with Jeffrey in the morning on their Blue Sky Live. So appreciate everybody early this morning. We will have coverage of whatever's coming up, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.